Good morning, gang. Happy Wednesday morning. All right. I'm going to bring up a couple of points this morning on something, but all or nothing. Okay. Right. This basically seems to be the mantra of governments around the world lately that affect all of us. You look at the debt ceiling negotiations right now. Both sides are digging in their heels. Biden's saying, I'm getting everything I want and you're getting nothing. The Republicans are saying the same on the other side, all or nothing. You look at China, okay, and this is where I say it gets worrisome economically on a world confrontational front. I mean, you all saw the story yesterday that China had war gamed out what it would take out the USS Gerald Ford, right? And I mean, they posted that on the South China Morning Post. Why? To put scare into the U.S. military and also to explain to the Chinese people that, hey, we're powerful enough to stop the biggest aircraft carrier in the United States. Okay. Whether or not there's any truth to their wargaming, who knows? We all know China lies through their teeth. But that brings me to the point. Last year, China said at the beginning of the year, our GDP this year is going to be 5% growth, right? Miraculously, at the end of the year, their growth was exactly 5%, according to what they reported. Does anybody believe China? No. Okay. In truth, the Chinese economy is contracting rapidly. Right? I'll give you this. The recent PMI numbers coming out of China show that their manufacturing is dropping. It dropped 0.4 of a point from 49.4 to 49 flat. Okay, you don't have 5% growth when when your claim to fame economically is manufacturing. When your manufacturing is dropping, that does not mean you're experiencing growth. There's a real good reason why this is happening. And the U.S. better learn from it, because coming into another election, you know exactly this is the game plan. You know about the new variant, XBB, right? China is, or has, remember, locking people in their apartments and the police going around and nailing doors shut. People couldn't leave their apartments forever. There's zero policy. I'm trying to avoid using that one word. Well, what wound up happening? You had the entire country not get natural immunity. Look at how the United States worked. The states that locked down miraculously had the highest number of cases. The states that didn't miraculously had the lowest number of cases. Gee, how did that wind up happening? Because a lot of people developed natural immunity. China didn't do that. Well, by the end of May, China is expecting to be on pace for an average of 40 million cases of XBB a month. By the end of July, it's predicted that they are going to be getting 67 million new cases. Can you see what's going to happen? Okay, or can you see what happened and what's going to happen? Manufacturing is down because, surprisingly, all these people are sick and can't go to work. So that drops your productivity. Not a big surprise, okay? Then, because of what you did, now everybody is going to get sick with the next variant, which means their economy is going to go further down. Remember, communists, which is the end goal for any liberal, can't think past here. Remember what China did a few years ago with their policy on killing all the sparrows, okay? Remember this one? And then they wondered why all their crops failed, because the bugs ate them all. Because they got rid of all the sparrows, which ate the bugs, So the bugs didn't eat the crops. Oops, didn't think past the tip of our nose. Same thing with this zero COVID policy is, we don't think past the tip of our nose. Gee, if everybody's locked in, we have no manufacturing, we have no economy. Hence, China's economy is dropping. Okay, you know, they can say, oh, but the GDP is still expanding. Nobody believes you. I mean, they said in the first quarter it expanded 4.5%. Oh, gee, after 5% that you supposedly said, if you're doing numbers the way the U.S. does numbers, that means your economy is contracting. Okay, and no, nobody believes that you are expanding your economy by 4.5% a quarter, 4.5% annually over the quarter when your manufacturing is down. Because please tell me, what else does China have to raise their GDP? Tourism? I don't think so. Okay. If it ain't made in China, China doesn't have any freaking money. They're not an exporter of food by any means. They're a massive importer. So, they'll say, well, our domestic travel is up. Well, yippee. Okay. The Chinese going from one town to the next town for the Lunar New Year, BFD. Okay. But this is what's coming for us. Because I know there's going to be something in the next 18 months where, oh my God, we've got to go to mail-in voting. Everybody's got to stay home, yada, 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 so that the criminal cabal can stay in power. Now, let's take this one step further and let's go into the upsettedness, whatever word would be here, that the American people are going to have if we get locked down again. The first time everybody thought, hey, it's cool. You know what? I can stay home for a couple of weeks. And it's like, hey, honey, we don't have any money. I need to get back to work. The kids are going nuts. We're not learning anything. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. A year later. Let's take a look at when everybody starts getting pissed off. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world right now. I mean, there's stories out there, some you probably heard of, some you haven't, of people just losing their freaking mind. I mean, there was a story this morning about a guy in New York that was killed because his son and another kid in school got in a fight in school, and the parent and his brother and the kid's brothers decided they were going to go over to this kid's house after school and finish the fight, because obviously it got broken up in the school. The father of the kid at home said, no, my kid's not coming out to fight. So the parents and the brothers of the other kid decided, hey, if he's not, and told him, hey, if he's not going to fight, then you are. And 5 of them proceeded to beat the living shit out of the father to the point of killing him. Okay. This is how people have completely lost their collective minds. I mean, look at anything. People trying to stop traffic, ban oil or whatever the deal is. These guys, there was a story yesterday where these people were blocking traffic, and so one guy who was trying to get work got pissed off, went and grabbed one of the guys to drag him off the street so the cars could go through. The police arrested the guy who dragged the protester off the street. Okay. This is how crazy it is. And everybody wonders why the Americans absolutely refuse to give up our guns. Because we need to protect ourselves from lunatic people and tyrannical governments, right? Okay. That's what the Second Amendment was there put in place for, okay? For a standing militia and to protect yourself or protect the country from all enemies, foreign and domestic, okay? Which would mean lunatic neighbors and lunatic politicians. Let me explain something to you, just give you a perfect example. Okay. Now, I don't have a horse in the race in Ukraine, Russia. I could care less what happens over there. Let them kill each other. I don't give a shit. Okay. Not my problem. But let's look at 2 different ways this worked. Remember about a year ago when the Russians were coming into Ukraine or going into Kyiv, and the Ukrainians, basically the police departments, the military, just started handing out AKs to the civilians so the civilians could fight the Russians as they were coming in. And the civilians stood their ground and pushed the Russian military back, and they were not allowed to take Kyiv, right? Ukraine armed their citizens, and the citizens were effective in a defensive force. Flip it over to a couple of days ago at Belgorod. The Ukrainians went into Belgorod, which is a city in Russia right on the Ukraine border. Putin has not armed the citizens of Russia who are in harm's way, and the soldiers from Belgorod ran rampant through the town. Now, stories say that the Russian military eventually came in and killed these 39 guys. When I see the bodies, I'll believe it. Okay. But this is the point. When the citizens are armed, when the citizens have a choice, when the citizens can do what they want to do, things go good. When we let the governments dictate what we do, you're locked down. No choice of your own. You can't have guns. No choice of your own. That's when all hell breaks loose, and that's when the world goes to shit. Fight everything you can. Keep fighting against this gun control crap. Keep fighting against any of these totalitarian lockdowns that you know are coming, okay? They're going to use the same playbook they used in 2020. No question, all right? We just have to refuse. And we have to be loud and proud. Pinball out.